Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Elaine Schomburg-LaFleur, and she's an engineer with over 20 years of experience in the entertainment industry, leading projects in engineering, design, and technical management for major theme parks. And outside of her work, she's also a speaker and a STEM advocate, inspiring the next generation of STEM leaders. I'm really interested to learn more about her work in entertainment, her STEM outreach, and of course, speaking. So, welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Elaine.
Thank you, Neil. Excited to be here.
So, from the bit of research I did on you, I saw that you got a degree in mechanical engineering. So, what was the motivation to get that degree?
I do. Uh, just to give you a little bit of the history and story, I was lucky enough when I was growing up to be surrounded by a father who was a chemist. So STEM was very much in my world, and he used to tease me that why was my favorite question. And I think to this day, I think I'm a great project manager because why is still my favorite question. I actually thought I was going to be a doctor when I first started out. Then in high school, I did some volunteering and at a hospital and realized me and the sight of blood, not so good. So that was not going to be my path. Medicine was not going to be there. And I thought instead it was going to be more biomedical. And that's why I kind of chose the mechanical aspect, is because mechanical, you could do biomedical from that. And then as I got into it, I was living in Houston at the time, and then I met some really influential people from Disney, and I thought, oh, this is a thing. When you live in Florida, that makes sense, but when you're in Houston, really NASA or chemical engineering, those are the things that not the theme park industry. But when I met them, I thought, oh, this is definitely what I want to do, especially since I was the geek who loved statics classes and anything that had to do with free body diagrams. That was my fun thing to do, which you get to do a lot in the theme park industry. And so when I made that connection, I really focused on that aspect and was able to take that mechanical engineering degree. And now I've been in the theme park industry for 22 years. So very excited.
Wow, that's great. And, like you, Elaine, I also thought about becoming a doctor. But do you remember the TV show ER?
I do. I do.
Yeah,
I think
so
it's
I
still running, actually.
really, yeah. Well, I used to watch it pretty religiously, but I remember watching that show and noticing that the doctors had to sleep at the hospital and had to get up at all kinds of times. And I was like,
Yes.
yeah, this can't work for me. I need my 8 hours.
Uh, Theme parks might not be your thing either, too. When an attraction is down, it's all hands on deck, and it can be some pretty long hours.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm glad I worked. I ended up where I ended up, 9 to 5, man. That's what I'm about.
I hear you. Sleep is a good thing.
Indeed. I do it every day. Okay, so I also saw that you got an MBA as well. So I'm curious, what was the motivation to get that degree?
When I was focusing on project management, I realized having that MBA was going to help me a lot when it came to getting funding and or helping get across the critical things for projects. So that's why I went and did my MBA, and I'm really glad I did. It really helped me think more from a financials perspective, looking at what is that return on investment of doing some of these work, this effort. So I'm very thankful that I went and got that MBA from Rollins and was able to be a better project manager because of that background. That's why I did that.
Okay, so you have a mechanical engineering degree. I suspect that the MBA came when you were already working. So I'm kind of
Exactly.
yeah. So I'm curious. Once you started working in the engineer or in the entertainment industry and moving up within with your time in that industry, what kind of jobs have you done?
I was very lucky. I started off at Disney in the quality engineering department, which was wonderful. It was right when Soarin' was being built. I don't know if you've ever ridden that attraction, but it's one of my favorites, and being there when it was being built was very helpful. I loved that role. The thing that I was looking for was the opportunity to be a leader, and that role was very much an individual contributor. So I was lucky enough to have a leader at the time who helped suggest that I try the maintenance department because at a young age I could be a leader of people. And so I made that swap into the maintenance department right as Expedition Everest was being built. So another one of my favorites, just because I helped get that one built, and led the maintenance team, a team of electricians and mechanics who are phenomenal, know that ride inside and out. And I very much enjoyed that role as well, but learned that I'm a planner. Like that is just, I'm a natural person to have a plan, and maintenance is not planning. Maintenance is firefighting. Every day you're firefighting. And so I was just, again, talking to a leader saying, I definitely want to keep the leadership aspect, but is there a role where I could do more of my planning aspect of it? And that's when I found this group called Facility Asset Management, which was all about running projects around the parks. So most of the things you see at Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom, I had touched in some way. And it was this perfect blend of technical, as well as just understanding the scope, understanding the budget, being able to drive that, being able to take something that was a very overwhelming project and break it down into the pieces and get it executed. And I loved every aspect of that. And then after 21 years at Disney, then I was able to find this smaller group called AOA, which is an amazing company. So now I'm still getting to do that project management aspect, but for a smaller group and loving it. It's very diverse projects around the theme park industry.
Okay. Well, when you first started speaking, Elaine, you mentioned your first job was in quality. It made me chuckle a bit to myself because when I worked in as an engineer, I worked in medical devices and I worked in product development. And the quality engineers were people we never really wanted to see because a lot of times they're telling us what we can't do.
Very fair. Very fair. Same thing in the theme park industry. No one really wants you there.
Yeah, yeah. So, but hey, we need people like you. So, hey, kudos to you for wanting to take on that role. I know, man, if I had to do quality, I'd have to find something else to do. But
It is hard. It's the unsung heroes, just like the safety engineers, the unsung heroes.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, this is great. So, but you also mentioned that you wanted that at some point you decided that you wanted to be a leader of people.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, when it comes to being a leader of people, what's one thing that you didn't anticipate having to deal with being a leader of people, but ended up having to?
I think for me, the thing I really had to learn, leadership is not a skill that you learn in school, especially not in the engineering side. You learn all the technical aspects, but you don't necessarily learn the leadership side. And everybody talks about what is your leadership style. And while you do have a leadership style, quote unquote, to be a good leader, you really have to think differently for each one of your team members and how they show up every day. And I really had to learn that. And there were some bumps along the road of finding those introverts that if I didn't talk to them first, I didn't get the full person because they needed to process or think through things. So I would maybe with this one person and say, hey, in this brainstorming session, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. I know you need a little bit of time to think about it. So you go do that. If you want to share it with the group, great. If you want to give it to me early because you don't have the confidence to share with the group, that sounds fine. When you have a bunch of engineers, you tend to have a lot of introverts. So I had to treat some of them differently versus the other ones who might come in there and be like, I know everything and I'm going to run and take over the meeting. And then talking to them a little bit and saying, I love your ideas. Can we just make sure that we're also getting to hear the others and encourage them to share as much too? So that's my long way of saying, as a leader, you have to learn all those different styles, all those different approaches, and you lead differently because of that. So when you become that leader, especially the middle manager, all day you're having to do that with your team, and then you're having to do that with your own leadership team. And are they the direct people who want it really fast and quick? Are they ones that more you know when you go in they're going to socialize, and you've got to come in and socialize and do that first before you jump into things? So that's a long-winded way of saying, as a leader, I just had to learn all those different personality styles, and that I had to be ready to lead differently for each one of them.
I think you were really smart to come to that realization, Elaine. And yeah, I think you're right. You do hear a lot about having a leadership style, but ultimately, if you want people to do what you need them to do, you have to meet them where they are. And
Exactly.
if your leadership style doesn't match that, well, then you're going to have issues. And
So true.
when you were speaking about brainstorming sessions, I again chuckled to myself because I remember working as an engineer, and the boss that I had at the time, he would call these damn brainstorming sessions 10 minutes. We're having a brainstorming session. I was like, oh man. Because I'm like that introvert you were describing, the person that I struggle to come up with things in the moment. But if you give me some time to think of something,
Yes.
then yeah, I can very well do that. And then I can come to the meeting with ideas to share. And I wouldn't even pass them along to you. I would share them myself. I'm okay with that. So I'm not going to be
You just need that time.
I just need the time, but
Yeah.
just let's come up with ideas, guys. I'm just like, man, I got nothing, man. Yeah, I used to hate those so much. Oh God.
Sounds like your leader just needed to know that and could have led differently with you.
Yeah, yeah, he should talk to you. That's what.
Next time. Next time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So okay, so I'm also I mentioned in the intro that you're a STEM advocate as well. So
Yes.
where did the I guess the motivation to become a STEM advocate come from?
I think a couple different things. Being a female in mechanical engineering, we're I don't know if you noticed, we're kind of a minority. And even 20 plus years later, I'm still such the minority. I don't even think women in mechanical make up even 20% yet. It's just so small. And again, like I told you, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by STEM, but not everybody is. And so a phrase I think you've heard before is it's hard to be what you can't see. And I just wanted to be that for people to understand that women add so much to this industry. And without that, we're losing that type of input into this this world. And I want to be that advocate for people to encourage them. I sadly had this one professor who once told me I might not be a good mechanical engineer because I don't like to work on my car on the weekend. And I'm here to tell you 20 plus years later, you don't have to work on your car to be a really good mechanical engineer or project manager. And I want to be a different voice. I want to be encouraging because I think it's so critical. We lose a lot of women from it because they don't see the empathetic aspect of mechanical engineering, which is so critical. And so I want to be that voice and let them see that they can be that. And so I do a lot of work, especially here in the Central Florida area with UCF. I'm active with the Society of Women Engineers, the Mechanical Engineering Society, whatever I can do to be encouraging to help get more women into this environment and to feel safe and know that they can make a difference.
Wow. You mentioned a term that I don't think I've ever heard before, the empathetic side of engineering.
Yeah.
Could you provide an example of what that could look like?
To me, I mean, I think you see it every day, right? You do a lot on communication, and communication is what makes or breaks this industry. As a project manager, my projects don't typically fail because of scope challenges. They fail because of communication challenges and just not being able to see or hear things. And so, what I think I do well as a project manager is I'm listening to everybody. I'm paying attention to what they're not really saying sometimes, kind of actually getting down, asking that why, and trying to get through what is the true issues going on. And that's empathy, and that's communication, and that's what makes solid aspects and growth in both project management and engineering.
You being a project manager, it also makes me chuckle to myself again. So I've been doing a lot of chuckling, Elaine. So
I'm
the,
glad I'm bringing humor into your life.
the whole impetus of even starting this channel and the podcast had to do with my own struggles giving presentations in front of management. And the only reason I had to do it as a product development engineer is because the company I worked for didn't have project managers, because typically they'd be the ones in front of management talking about project status updates. But the company's too cheap to hire those people. So here are these engineers who none of us, well, at least I would think the majority of us were never trained to be in front of
No,
people talking. And yet here we
absolutely not.
are doing it on a monthly basis. And let me tell you, those first few presentations were
Oh,
absolutely horrendous, Elaine. I did not know it was possible to sweat that profusely from one's body. It was just pouring. And it was gross. And you know what was really bad about it is after those presentations, I'd get questions that I thought I'd answered during the presentation.
oh,
Like, wait,
yes.
I
Oh,
thought
that
I
hurts, doesn't it? I thought I covered that on slide 5.
that's what I had to well, that's when I should have known that maybe I didn't put things in a way that these decision maker types could understand, and I would have gotten the message after that first presentation. But I didn't, Elaine. I didn't get it after that first presentation, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. I didn't get the message until my project got canceled.
Oh no. Oh
then
no.
I
It,
thought, then I thought, this whole presenting in front of people thing, this whole communicating thing, maybe this is something I need to look into.
No, I'm glad you learned that. I'm sorry your project had to get canceled to learn that, but you're right. I had to learn the same thing. I think I'm glad you do this because as engineers, we value data very often. And so we think we need to go in and just cover all of that data. And you and I both know our leadership team does not have the time to do that. And they don't need to see how the sausage was made. They just want to know what the decision is. And it takes time to learn that. It takes time to learn what is the thing they need to hear, and each leader's different, and you got to know, just kind of like we were talking earlier, you got to know what do they need to hear. Can I do it in one slide? Do I actually get three? Like what does it look like? And you've got to do that. And then in my world, now you throw in all the creative aspects of things, and you can't necessarily show somebody a 2D drawing and that mean anything to them because they don't have that spatial awareness, and you've got to figure out how you communicate what you're trying to say in a positive way that gets across. So you are absolutely correct. I'm so glad you're here because teaching this aspect of communication and giving talks and what gets across, you've got to think through how do you prepare, what do you go into, and it's different for each one. And sometimes it's overwhelming, but it's so important.
Yeah, I think a lot of us technical people, we just assume that what we think is important is what's going to be important to other people, and oftentimes that's just not the case at all.
So it's not the case.
I also, in the intro that I said you were a speaker as well, so I'm curious, what topics do you speak about?
I try to do a lot of different things. So whenever I can, I focus on things for like the Society of Women Engineers. I talk about the imposter syndrome and how you work through that. I talk about executive presence and what that looks like and how you can work on it. Sometimes I talk about giving presentations just like you. There's times when I've been in a room and I sometimes think, I know I said that. Why did it not land when I said it? Why did it land when somebody else said it? These are all topics that I love to work on. Mainly it's the stuff I want to work on that I want to share some of the things I'm learning, and it's like the perfect opportunity if I'm focusing on it. I know others are as well, and so sharing what I'm learning with others is really important to me.
I also, I just said not too long ago that I had to give these presentations in front of management, and I wasn't all that great at it. But I'm curious, when it comes to communicating with others, is that something you've always been good at? And if not, what did you do to get better at it?
Oh, I've had the epic fails like you. There was this one project that it was so important to me, and I was asking for a very large sum of money to get this project going through. And I went in and I was so proud, Neil. Like I really had put these charts together. I was so proud of it. I probably hadn't gotten through like slide three when I was told, "You're not ready, come back." And oh, that's chilling and that hurts. And you're like, okay. Um, what was very valuable to me was I had a good mentor, and I went down and I said, here's what I had presented. Could you help me understand what did I do wrong? And a lot of it came down to like what we were talking about earlier. It was way too much data. It didn't get to the heart of the matter as well as fast as I needed to. So getting that guidance of what I needed to change, what I needed to come back with, how to simplify it, how to get that message out early, and then go into the detail. This is what I'm asking for. Here's why I'm asking. Here's the detail I need. That second time went so much better because I had thought through what they needed to hear. I had some good guidance, and I was able to get the funding for that project. That's just an example of it's learning. It's learning opportunities every time. And we're going to have our failures, and it's what you do with those. It's how you take the lessons and the learnings and apply it. And in general in life, it's not about not failing, it's about how you show up after you fail.
Yeah, I very much agree with what you're saying, Lane. When I had to give those presentations in front of management, I mentioned the profuse sweating, and that was probably the probably a side of my nervousness. I'm curious, when it comes to speaking in front of others, do you ever get nervous? And if so, how do you deal with your nerves?
I think anybody will tell you there's this natural reaction. Um, Even when you think you've prepared, no matter how much time you've practiced, when you stand up, and especially if you've got tons of eyeballs looking back at you when you're on a stage, it could be tough. Or if you're short like me, you can't even see over the lectern because you're so tiny, things like that. For me, sometimes it's just simply breathing is really critical. Have you ever heard of the power pose?
Yeah.
The power pose works. It's a very powerful thing. So I do that. And then I also like, especially if I'm giving a big speech, I like to go find a couple of faces in the audience and talk to them a little bit earlier and then connect with them. So if I'm having a little bit of challenges with my emotions, I might connect with that person I had been talking to who's like, I'm so excited to be here, and just see their face and see them nodding. And that just helps me get over some of the that nervousness and go back to just here's the content, here's what I'm trying to share. Those are the things that have helped me the most.
Nice. You know, I've been in situations where, well, I've heard, people often say that when it comes to giving a presentation, the audience wants to see you do well. I've also seen instances when that isn't necessarily the case, and those always make me laugh too, especially if you go to a more academic type conference. You'll have someone giving a presentation and they're speaking about their research, but there'll be other people in the audience who are also doing similar research, and they're all fighting for the same research dollars from the various organizations that provide research money. So it's in their best interest to poke holes
Mhm.
in the speaker's research, so they're seen as more as the experts, so that they get more of the research dollars. So every now and then you'll see these instances where people will be going back and forth
Mhm.
on their research and then the various holes in the research and what they could be doing better, and the combativeness that comes with it. And I was just like, maybe y'all should just go outside and square up, get your dukes up,
I hear you. I mean, that I'm glad that I'm not usually in that competitive world. I would hope that I would know who they are and maybe get some time with them and see if we could be more collaborative, but I get that that's not always going to be the case. So
Yeah, it always tickles me to see it whenever it happens, for sure. Okay, so I'm really curious, Elaine, for the people who are watching or they are listening to our conversation and they see the benefit of getting better at speaking in front of others and they're technical people, what was the number one tip you'd give them to get started on that journey?
I think for me, what engineers get is preparation. And that preparation is all in your control. We love our control here in the engineering world. And so I think that's the biggest tip I can give you is know your audience, know what you're trying to share, think about the path you're going to get to that, practice it, prepare, try it out with a smaller group, get some feedback, and those are the things that are going to help you. It's going to help you feel like you know your content. It's going to help you see, oh, this didn't land. I need to kind of change what I'm doing. So honestly, the best advice I can give is just practice and take that advice and learn from it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of practice myself. I had a friend who used to give me a hard time about practice because he does more, I guess, off the cuff type of speaking when he gives presentations. But I think you could tell because
Oh,
when I practice to time. You know how many presentations I've attended where, especially at conferences, and I'm looking at the agenda and I see this person has 50 minutes to talk, but then 16, 17, sometimes 18 minutes in, they're still going and no one's yanking them.
mhm.
And then the next person has to go, and are they going to speak less because the other person ran over? Likely not. They're going to speak as long as they do too. So it just draws out the agenda, and then lunch starts late, and now I'm mad.
Lunch needs to start on time. I'm
You
with you
damn
on
right I
that
need to
one.
start on time. They got no snacks or nothing. My belly's growling. I need my food.
I'm with you. You can tell when somebody's winging it. It's very evident, and I appreciate everybody who can or tries to, but I know that the impact I make is when there's key points I want to hit, and I'm making sure that I'm driving those, and I think that matters.
Yeah, yeah, and not only that, but when you go over time, I think it's disrespectful to the audience too.
That's true. Time is very valuable, and lunch, especially at lunchtime.
Lunch, snack, dinner, breakfast, whatever, whenever food's involved, it's important.
I agree with you.
Absolutely. This has been a great conversation, Elaine. Thank you so much for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
The best way is LinkedIn. I'm very active there. I'm the only Elaine Schomburg-LaFleur on LinkedIn, so you will definitely see me there. That's the best way. And once we connect, I'm happy to help out in any way, especially if you're a STEM advocate, if there's interest in the theme park industry and how to get into it, happy to share that path as well.
Excellent. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you.